I have this question, which is how important is it to read the original writing of someone who kind of founded the ideas of a certain field? The reason I'm interested in that is someone recommended a few videos ago that I check out Wittgenstein, which is, if you don't know, he's a philosopher who deals with the meaning of words and it kind of his core thesis, which I had heard before from some random podcast or YouTube video, is every word that we have to describe things is basically just like a symbol that points towards some kind of thing out in reality. And all our words are defined by each other. Like they're a big graph. You know, you can't define duck without defining bird or crouch. Or, you know, every word is like connected to each other in this big web of meaning. So everything is kind of ultimately meaningless. And my question was, okay, I understand like the main thesis of Wittgenstein's work. Does it matter if I actually go and read it? And I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think the answer is prevailingly and absolutely yes. Reading the original work does matter hugely, especially for kind of big ideas, big first principle thinkers in any kind of field. Like reading Adam Smith if you're interested in economics, or Darwin if you're interested in evolution, or what someone gave me recently is a recommendation to read Jung for psychology. And first of all, when you're going to tackle these authors who are like kind of my timelines are horrible, but like early thinkers in their fields, like huge pioneers who invented like basically the entire modern field. Reading these guys is very difficult because their vocabulary is quite big, first of all. That's not really the difficult part. You can just use a dictionary if you're not a moron. The second thing is like a lot of big serious academics will reference a lot of things. So you have to kind of follow down these knowledge rabbit holes, and it can take like a long time. It is not easy to read the fundamentals of stuff. I remember I thought I was all cool in high school. I was reading The Wealth of Nations, and it's just like it's really complex stuff. Well, I don't know. It's not horribly complex, but it's like a different caliber of reading than we have today. And back to the original question in this video, like, does it matter reading the original versus just like hearing someone tell you the ideas? I think there's this thing that happens, which I've heard my friend call signal distortion, which is basically like the original meaning of the text gets kind of simplified and compressed and watered down, and it's like completely inadequate to what was originally said by the author themselves. And I don't know. It's helpful to have context. It's helpful to have modern people summarize ideas, but it's you can lose actually quite a lot by people like reading something, summarizing it in their own words, dumbing it down a little bit. Especially, I think, in the university system, like in school, I think a lot of the classes you get are really kind of like maybe 3 degrees removed from the original material. And like if I don't know, it's just not the same. Like knowing what Jung's the basic summary of what Jung thought is just not the same as reading it yourself. And I kind of feel like there's this weird phenomenon. It's hard to articulate, but there are people, humans we have who live among us that did a lot more thinking than other people. Some people like to think more than others, just kind of a habit. And I guess you can see this kind of like you probably know that there are different types of people. There's two different types of people. One that kind of enjoys learning and one that doesn't. People that don't enjoy learning, that don't enjoy pushing their worldview into a different shape, they almost kind of cognitively die at a certain age, which sounds horrible, but Reens, I talked to a guy from this channel, was telling me that, and for some reason that's one of the things that's just stuck with me. Like there are certain people that kind of just past a certain age, they don't expand their worldview that much. They just like they've formulated a model that works for them and they don't try to keep pushing it. And then there are people that progressively try to understand more and more things. So academics typically, like professors, are like the most knowledge-hungry citizens. And then there are also like, I don't know, tech bros and CEOs and stuff, which I think are kind of similar in a lot of ways. But yeah, I don't know. Usually professors are more like domain specific, and tech bros have a danger of drifting all over the place and becoming generalists. But the point is, I think there are some people, and Young might be one of them, who are just like so much more educated than we are, that it's like it's kind of hard to comprehend their mindscape. And I've heard like the stories about Young, that he was like an absolutely he's like read Greek and Latin and Sanskrit even. He's just like an insanely driven guy who read an enormous amount, and he invented like all these things. He invented Alcoholics Anonymous too. But I have this feeling that there are people walking around out there that just know this enormous amount of stuff, you know. And what's interesting is their brilliance kind of hides in plain sight, because if you have any kind of ego, it's very easy to read something like this, and what's happening to me now. And it's like, it's so complex that it seems like just gibberish. And I think it's easy to think, well, what if it is? It's just like, this can't be that brilliant. It can't be that out there. This is just like kind of a meaningless gibberish piece of words. But it's like almost a network of the most brilliant people are able to communicate with each other based on just like the abstraction of ideas. And I flip-flop between thinking this idea is utterly ludicrous. Like, there aren't people that are like much smarter than others. And then sometimes I think like, what if there are? What if like not all academics are created equal, and there are academics that are like just 10 times smarter, and they're able to kind of communicate with each other through plain English, but it's like such abstract patterns that they notice about the world that the average person just thinks it's kind of gibberish. Maybe I'm just describing academia actually, but I don't know. There's also this kind of term I've come across before. Someone said dog whistling, which I hadn't heard, but it's basically where like a dog whistle only dogs can hear. It's like you can communicate a certain pattern, a certain idea that is only going to be understood by a certain group of people based on the context of information they have. And commonly this is like religious, or it's some kind of political thing, like a communist thing. Like you can drop some little Easter egg in your speech that only someone who's gone really deep into this kind of religious doctrine will be able to pick up on. And the average person, like it'll just be like straight gibberish to them. It's interesting. It's like the layers of the onion go deeper and deeper the more you look. And I don't know, in my opinion, it's interesting. Maybe this is just like some kind of the nature of being bipolar-ish, but sometimes I feel like I can see the layers all around me. Like, wow, there's so much complexity. There's so many patterns to everything. Someone like Young is absolutely brilliant and has like done all this work to see all this stuff. And then other times I feel like my ego kind of gets in the way of seeing that. And I like intellectually understand that there are people with 10 times, 100 times my knowledge and intelligence and see all the beautiful intricacy to the world. And I feel that intellectually, but I don't feel it intuitively. I get the idea, but I don't believe it, you know. I'm like, meh, they're probably like, I don't know, they know a bit more. He tried a little bit harder in school, whatever. But a way that you can kind of open yourself up to this world of complex patterns and people think really deeply is go and talk to your professors and really show genuine interest in their field. And it doesn't really matter, honestly, in my opinion, how much you currently know, how good you currently are at whatever skill. It's much more when you're talking to people that are much more knowledgeable, much more capable than you. It's much more about your attitude and how you treat them. And that, for whatever reason, is really extremely effective in in helping you build a connection with someone who's much more knowledgeable, like a professor. Like professors absolutely love when they get a student who like genuinely is very, very into, and like even if you're kind of a noob and you ask like why about everything and you question everything they say, they really like to see, and they'll kind of open up to you and start telling you more things. And this is the case of anyone who's like really an expert at what they do. If you just relentlessly ask and they see that you're dedicated to building your understanding out as thoroughly as possible, they'll be very enthusiastic about talking to you. I think that's a mistake I made the first time I went to college. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize like the professors are the ones at the college who like make it a mystical place of knowledge. They're like the organizational structure to it all. There's all this bureaucracy and nonsense around college now. Like the admissions officers they're not qualified at all. I don't know. Maybe they kind of know what they're doing in some. No, actually, I don't believe that. No, I think most of college is kind of overrun now by bureaucracy, turning it into like a career mill company. But there are still these genius professors, and if you really want to make the most of your education, you got to go talk to those professors and really get interested in what they're doing. And you can learn a whole lot, not just about their field, but about the world. Yeah, these guys see the deep patterns to everything. I don't know. Let me know what you think about these revelations, and because I swing between being like, am I crazy? And no, there are many levels to things. Yeah. Also, I see. I made this video a while ago bashing Luke Smith, but I was like such a naive noob back then. Like Luke Smith has read a lot of stuff. Luke Smith knows what's up, actually. Yeah, he's been through the ringer. He went through kind of a phase of reading all the stuff too, and he's read some difficult stuff. And he also, if you know Greek and Latin, you're kind of a Chad. I mean, there's some deep hidden knowledge layers to the world that are only accessible if you know Greek and Latin, which is really unfortunate. I'm not about to dive headfirst into religion, but I also see there's much more layers to that than I initially saw. God damn it, I'm following the exact same trajectory as Luke Smith. Maybe it was bound to happen.